Hi everyone, thanks for joining us again for another episode of the Risking It All podcast. You're joined by your usual hosts, myself, Barry, and Brian McGill at Jolly Media Marketing, and Andy McDade of McDade's Coaches. And we're delighted to be joined by our guest today, which is the other part of Strength and Movement, the dynamic duo, Stephen Tennent. So
being delighted won't last long.
I might come back to eat those words later, but no, it's great to have you, Stephen. You know, no pressure, obviously, following up Sean, your business partner, who was our very first guest.
As you know, Sean's the warm-up.
Yeah,
He's the warm-up.
He's the starter.
I've heard. So, obviously, we've managed to talk you on, which is great. I've got to know you over the last few months by going into the gym, which for anybody watching on YouTube, I know I've still got work to do there, right? It's fine. But
all.
And
Speak
also,
for yourselves.
I saw you dancing the other day.
I'm in the
It
shape
was
of my life.
legendary.
That
Shape
was-
of my life.
You can't do that without having proper proprioception.
that was
Oh,
some
Movement
amount of
under
calories.
control, just to let you know.
Yes,
Movement under
exactly.
Some
control.
amount of calories burned. I got a front row seat of that dance, and it wasn't pretty.
It was like Nicki Minaj dancing, that, to be fair.
I didn't get that excited.
Right, let's move on.
We'll park Brian's dancing for another time. But no, Stephen, it's been great getting to know you over the last few months. We've had loads of conversations, and you've just kept putting these wee nibbles out about stuff you used to do in the past and stuff you're doing now. So I was like, right, it's time to get you on here so we can hear it all firsthand. So, take us back to young Stephen.
Why?
No, take us back
He's
to the
not that
start.
interesting.
Aye, well,
How young do you want to go?
just give us a wee breakdown of,
Start.
Growing up,
Childhood
school.
education.
Back to the 50s.
Back to the 50s. Let me go beyond that. In 1939, my old man was born. Grew up in Fernhill
Right.
till I was about 5. A couple of really interesting memories. And the reason we moved from Fernhill was because, well, the reason my folks moved, because I was only like 4, was because there was a couple of folks round about in the close that were just absolutely radio mental. I mean, they were properly mental. And there was an episode, and I remember getting my hair washed in this kitchen sink.
Aye.
Right, and getting a cup in the hot water. That's too hot. Right. My way back then when you're 4 and stuff like that. And I also, believe it or not, I also have a memory of when I was in my cot. People say, what's your earliest memory? I have a memory when I was about 6 months old, 8 months old, when I was in my cot, and I can still visualise the room as it was laid out. My brother's bed was there, my sister's bed was there, and they had a tent where they made the sheet. You know, we used to make up tents with sheets, and I started to play that. I remember all that, really weird. But they moved because there was this mental case up the close. It was put in cigarette butts. They would take paper, like wrap newspapers up, right? Put them through the letterbox of the house, and then get a fag and then put a fag through and try and light the paper, and then try and start a fire.
I think I maybe done that when I was young.
I was a dog
That's
shit
not a
wrapped in
surprise.
paper, lighting fire on the front door.
Yeah,
I've done
well,
that, but that's not setting anybody's house on fire.
Do you know what I really liked? I liked the one where you wrapped the 2 handles with string and you chapped both the doors.
Where
That
is
was funny.
What's Fernhill like? Is that rough or is that
It's working class.
Has
It's
it?
been rough.
Right,
It's
right.
working class.
You've met somebody from Fernhill years ago
Have I?
in Barcelona. Tony's mate.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
aye,
you
that's
know what
right,
I'm talking about. Aye, so aye, that's Fernhill.
Nodding a wink. Okay, so we went from there to Moodiesburn. And back to Fernhill. I was in the boys' brigade. I think it was called the Rockets at the time, and we had a wee dog called Trixie. And I was going to the Rockets, and I came down the stairs. My old man was behind me. Came down the stairs. I jumped across the road. I actually ran across the road, didn't I? Jumped across the road, and the dog followed me. Splat.
Oh, God.
Devastated. Still went to the Rockets, right enough. So left there, went to Moodiesburn,
Right.
into Spam Valley, and my mum was working by that time, and my old man was a welder. All of his days was a welder, and we went to Moodiesburn, and they were working basically 2 jobs each. They had a wee kind of party plan, you know, the Tupperware business, right?
Yeah.
It was basically that with clothes, and they built this wee distribution network all throughout kind of Lanarkshire, and that was basically what afforded us to be able to move to this place in Moodiesburn. And then it became, instead of one room for the 3 kids. It was me and my brother had a room, and my sister had a room to herself.
Fancy.
By the way,
Fancy.
snobby.
And what was the
Back
age
then,
gap between you and your brother and sister?
5 years between my brother and I, 4 years between my sister and I, and I'm proud to say I was a mistake. Thank goodness the pill's not 100% effective, and I am living proof of that fact.
Have you double checked if that's still the stance for your parents after all this
I
time?
don't really care anymore. I don't really care. I'm way beyond the pill.
So what about education wise? How were you with school? Were you like it? Love it?
So this is an interesting question, right? Because we've all had experience of school, right? And in all its different ways. And if you look at how school is, so we're 4 guys, right? You take us back to when we were 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And we are not designed, we're not psychologically designed, emotionally designed to sit in rows and listen to somebody talk.
Yeah.
Right? We're just not. We're designed to be out, rough and tumble, getting about it, try and learn things, understand how to hunt, understand how to provide effectively, right? And yet we're told as kids to sit in these, just sit down and shut up and listen. It's like, it's the exact opposite of what we should be doing as boys and how we learn. So I think that's a major mistake. So as a result, I'm just getting my excuses in early, right?
Yeah.
So as a result, right? Academically, I was probably middle of the pack, unless I was really interested, and then I was actually quite good. So maths and stuff like that, I was like, this is, I had a really nice story. Our maths teacher at secondary school, I think his name was Thompson.
What school did you go to?
Cathkin High.
Cathkin, man.
That's Cathkin High. And it was a big school at the time. And our maths teacher, Mr. Forsyth it was, right? And the guy was a genius, right? But see, when you're 12, 13, you don't care, right? He just had this tweed suit on. 3-piece tweed suit and the farmer's shirt, the Burberry kind of shirt, right? Brown brogues. And we're like, you are an absolute tosser.
Sounds like a dot.
Absolute geek of the highest order. I mean, he just thought he was a diddy, right? He comes in one day. Okay, everybody, I have an announcement to make. And he's strutting about. I have an announcement to make. Just to let you know, I have been informed that I have now passed my PhD in complex mathematics. I don't even know if that's a thing, but in complex mathematics, we're like, ha 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 ha, that's rubbish. Who do you think you are? We gave him pelters, absolute pelters. The guy's he just cleared a doctorate of mathematics, and we're like, oh, you're a diddy. It was ridiculous. But so the relationship between students and teacher is untenable. However, on the sporting side, I just flew. That was my thing. So and nowadays we talk about. We've always talked about IQ, right? And then there's emotional quotient, right? So your EQ, how emotionally intelligent are you? Yeah, and that's a big thing. Corporate life, your EQ. What's your EQ score? All that sort of stuff. What's your IQ, etc. Now IQ is really interesting because it's just effectively your ability to disseminate information really quickly and then regurgitate it, right? Mine's is really low.
I'm going to get in a lemon and say mine's is pretty low also.
I think I don't know. I'd be lucky.
Done an
I
IQ
don't know what the
test.
score is, but I
IQ
guess
test.
mine's is
Pretty
pretty
low,
low.
right? And in relation to people that I know who are like properly clever, they just take our information immediately and understand it. I'm like, okay, now take that back to apples. And how many apples do we have in the bag? But my sporting quotient was really high, like properly high. But when I was at school, nobody cared. Nobody really cared. There wasn't, PE wasn't a subject. You couldn't take PE. You took PE, but there was no qualification in PE. And that's the road I would have gone down. I would have gone down that road to take a sports science degree or something like that, which I would have absolutely immersed myself in. But I had no opportunity to do that when I was at school.
When is this? Like, I know I was jesting about your age, but like, what decade are we talking here?
So I went to secondary school in 78.
Right, okay.
Okay, so I was 66, born in 66. Went to secondary school 78, and I was captain of the Scottish under-16 volleyball squad when I was 15.
You were born the same year as my dad.
Really? Interesting, isn't it? So
So volleyball obviously you've excelled at that if you were a captain of Scotland. Was there any other sports that you excelled
Just
at?
football. I played football. Played football. I tried rugby once in the winter. It was frozen solid. Pitch was frozen solid, and I get tackled, and I hit the ground and skidded for about 30 yards, and I was just wrecked from head to toe. And I was like, I am never playing that ever again. That is not for me. But funnily enough, I really enjoy watching top class rugby. I really like that.
Yeah.
I took my boys actually to watch, two sons, two fabulous sons, and I took them to watch the Badminton World Championships at Glasgow years ago at Scotstoun, and it was epic. It was epic. And what I found was that if you take the time to watch and look at the movements and the power that's generated in top class sport, and anything, table tennis, squash, badminton, doesn't matter. It's just, I find it unbelievably interesting, really dynamic.
Badminton's one of the games that, like, we've got a mate of ours that's just used to play me and another one of our mates 1v2, and he's bigger than me, can barely move, and he used to beat us 15-0 because his technique.
See when you see him and then somebody tells you he's incredible at badminton, you're like,
It's
"Him?"
ST we're talking about.
Like,
I can't even believe that. I know I have heard that he plays, but like I barely see him move.
But your point around the obviously that's just the one of your mates, you'll be looking at the higher end of that, but the technique they have is just frightening.
It's ability to play the shots.
Yeah.
A friend of mine in London, right, big guy who's incredibly successful. It just, you meet these people in your life, right? I've met probably two or three people only that I would think I would let you rule the world, because four, sorry, seven. I'd let them rule the world. There's a guy that I know in Edinburgh. I've been introduced to a fella through Edinburgh into my network who's unbelievably capable. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you the strength of his mind and the ability of his mind. It's incredible people. Anyway, Big Tony loved to play squash. He played semi-professional football when he was young, but he's a good athlete and plays golf and lots of stuff. But he used to play squash quite a lot, and he played down at this golf club down in London. Quite a celebrated golf club. But there was quite a few members there who were like taxi drivers, made it good, a couple of taxi companies, you know what I mean? And they were out playing golf one day, and the boy says to Tony, "What else do you do? What else do you play?" He says, "I play a bit of squash." "Oh," he says, "I like a bit of squash, I'll play you at squash." And Tony says, "You don't want to play me at squash." "How do I not want to play you at squash?" He says, "Well," he says, "the squash is one of those games where if you're even just a tiny wee bit better than the next guy, you'll just destroy them. Get out of here, I want to play you at squash, big man." And he says, "Honestly, you won't be able to play. It's senseless. There's no point. I will absolutely destroy you." "How do you know you'll destroy me? I want to play you." He says, "Look, I'll play with two of my feet tied together. Right? I'll play you and I'll beat you. Right, you're on £100." And he says, "Right, okay, £100, no problem." So he goes out to the squash court. He lets the other boy serve first, right? And he just stands in that particular place where you can get things. And if depends on how you. So if you're warming up, you can size somebody up what kind of shots they can play, right? So he positions himself on the court. His feet are tied. He's got 2 feet tied together, right?
Tied right together.
Tied right together. Ankles together, right? His feet are ankles together. Right? The boy serves. The big man just goes, "Doosh, thank you very much. That's my serve now." And he beats him 15-0. Zero. It didn't even need to move out the square, because or at the tee, because in squash, if you can get it into the point where it just drops into the back corner, and you don't have the timing or the ability to get it out of there, you can't dig it out. There's nothing you can do. Nothing you can do unless you've been playing for years and you're highly, highly capable. That you can't do it in 15-0, feet tied together. You see, I told you. I didn't believe you, but I believe you now. Brilliant. So at that level, you get to these levels where even if you're just a wee bit better, that's why you get the guys coming out all the time. And the thing I learned about sport, and I suppose it's the same in business, is that the higher the level you go, right? So I was very fortunate to get a short stint down at Norwich, okay? And what I learned there was, and guys there were like Andy Townsend, Robert Fleck, Brian Gunn, Dale Gordon.
That's some serious football players
Two
you're
or
talking about.
2 or 3 others, right, that were top players.
Aye.
And at that time, 1987-88 season, the manager was Dave Stringer.
Year I was born.
All right, shut up. Okay. And then, so Dave Stringer was the manager. Took me down there, and what I learned there was that these guys were always wanting to train. They always wanted to learn what happens here and what. So if we look at this and we do that and we do. So if he goes there, I need to go there. Right? Okay. So what do I do in this situation? And they're always asking information from the coaches. The lower the levels you go. So at the end of my career, I went to play junior, right? And I had some really interesting times at junior level, but it was just a shock to the system. So how brutal it is. I mean, absolutely brutal. But when you're down at that level, everybody knows everything. Who are you talking to? Who you who you think you're talking to? It's like, I'm only trying to help you. Yeah, do you think you are? And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. Whereas the higher the level you go, that's interesting. So why would you say that? Okay, so I do this and I do that. They just want to learn all the time.
Do you think they're more receptive to ideas, coaching and collaboration?
Well, it comes into the 4 levels of competency, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you've got unconscious incompetence at the bottom. Right, so you're absolutely crap and you've got no idea. Right, you've got a ball at your feet and you're running about, you're loving it. You go, it bounces off your knee and you go, wow, it's brilliant. Right, you've got no idea how bad you are, but you're absolutely stinking rotten. Then you've got consciously incompetent, where you got to the level where you've learnt a bit more and you still love it, but you know you're rubbish.
Right,
I'm rubbish and I know I'm rubbish, but I don't care because I really enjoy it. Right?
It's like Andy with karaoke.
Aye, 100% me with karaoke. And fit, but
See when you talk about karaoke, the only thing that comes into my head is that Billy Connolly thing, but he talks about Hair of Fall. Hair of Fall. And the arms out there. So consciously incompetent. So unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, and then you get to conscious competence. Right, so the guys down at kind of junior level, right, they know they're all right. So I'm okay. I know what I'm doing, right? And I suppose you get into the lower senior leagues, same kind of thing happens. So it starts to get a little bit better. People want to understand a bit more. But when you get to the very, very top, right, you get guys that are top performance. Everyone talks about Cristiano Ronaldo, right? How good is he? He's the best ever. That's another discussion which we might have. The GOAT, right? Put that one at the side. But he's always learning. There's never a day where he doesn't want to go onto the field and try and learn something. He tells a great story about he was doing all these tricks, and he showed Paul Scholes, here, I'll show you my tricks. Dances all over the ball, and Scholes goes, aye, very good. Sticks a ball down. He says, see that tree over there at Carrington Training Ground? See that tree? The tree's about 40, 50, 60 yards away. I know it's quite a difference there, but let's say it's 60 yards away. Scholes just puts the ball down. See that tree over there? Zing. Hits the tree right in the middle from 60 yards. Doesn't say anything, just walks away. And Ronaldo went, I've got a lot to learn. But he's only 19 years old at that point, Ronaldo. But here's a guy who's in his kind of mid-20s, he's 2 or 3 years ahead of him, who's saying, you're focusing on all the wrong stuff. You need to focus on the basics. See all that stuff? It's all pansy-wansy nonsense, right? You need to focus on the basics. If you can do that sort of thing, then you're a player. Really, really interesting. So then you get to that unconscious competence where you don't know how good you are and you're always willing and always trying to learn because you think to myself, I've still got something to learn here, I've still got something to do, I've still got something to achieve, I want to get better and better and better, and they don't know how good they are. So the guys at the very, very top, and I think that's across all platforms, all sectors, the guys that are never quite happy that what they've done or what they're doing need to drive for something else. What drives that can be various different things. It can be an internal desire, it can be childhood trauma, it can be rejection, it could be loads of different things, but the need to improve, and that gets to that top level of unconscious competence. So I think it falls into that category.
That makes sense. So it's like a continuous improvement mindset, just constantly going and going. I want to come back to Norwich, right, but we probably skipped out a really important part there around how did you actually get into professional football? What was your breakthrough?
Well, actually, I stopped playing football because I was with Claremont Boys Club up until I was 16, right?
Right.
And then, so we played on a Sunday, okay? Now, so at that point, I was playing effectively under 21 international volleyball, okay? And I had a real chance, I had a real opportunity to play top level volleyball, okay? Not bad for a short arse, by the way. So I went from, at 16, I went from captain of the Scottish schools team. We had the previous year I was part of that team. We absolutely hammered England, and then the year they came up to us when I was captain, they beat us in the first game. We beat them in the second game, and that was epic. Just to even at a schoolboy level, epic just to represent your country, just epic. And then I had the chance to step up to the junior squad, which was for me like the junior squad. You've got 21-year-old boys now. When you're 16, 17, there was 21-year-old guys there. You're like, these guys are God, you know. There was the opportunity for me to learn was just epic. And the coach was a Canadian boy, Nick Moody, brilliant guy. Get a finger cut off, and it was like, don't ask about the finger. We're like, what happened to the finger? Don't ask about the finger, right? So it just makes it even more intriguing, right? And then when I moved up to, or had the chance to move up to under 17s football, it was played on a Saturday, and I couldn't do that because I played for the school team on the Saturday morning. I played for the volleyball club team on the Saturday afternoon. Then I played for my club football team, Claremont Boys Club, on the Sunday afternoon, right? So right? So I had no time. I thought, I can't do that. So I couldn't go to this. I couldn't play 3 games on Saturday, right? And my focus was now in volleyball because I was now thinking, I'm an internationalist, I'm this, I've got responsibilities, blah, 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 right? And plus I was like, and volleyball socially is an absolutely amazing sport. It's amazing. And it's incredibly dynamic at the top level. You could argue it's even more dynamic than football. And I'm a great lover of football.
In what way do you mean more dynamic? Is it more diverse people involved, or is it just more of a fun
dynamic in the actual movements and the play?
Right, okay.
Right, it's faster, it's really, really fast. And the movement's got to be really quick. So you've got to have a really quick mind. I don't know how I was there, but a really quick mind. And the ability to be able to see things that you can't really see. And I'll try and explain that. So my job, because I was short, was a setter, right? If you all know the volleyball terminology, I was the guy that kind of set up the strike, the attack, right? So there was this situation, and there was a big guy called David Kaljujerovic, who was Polish of descent, right? He was 6'8", and I was lucky if I was 5'8", 5'7", probably and a half. And he was a brilliant guy. Bear in mind that I'm 5'8"ish. All the guys in the team are not even under 6'2", and there's me, right? It's like you go along the lineup, you know, and it's like, poof, what happened to him? But there was a point in where we'd called a play called a shoot, okay, which is a really fast play. But you literally shoot the ball, serve. You set the ball like a shot, like a really, really quick serve, not that high over the net, and it's a really flat trajectory, so it's really quick. But the service reception from their serve, right, was really bad, and I had to run, slide on my knees, kind of arch my back, and then try and play the shot behind my head to something I couldn't really see. But you've got a kind of visualization of roughly where it is, right? And I made the shot, I made the serve, and the big guy goes up, ba-doom, and it's down. They never expect, because the service reception was so bad, they were like, he's never going to get that. I managed to do it. The big guy goes up, and that's it, we won the point. And the kind of point of that is that there are times like that, even in football, where you kind of know that player's got to be over there, so I'm just going to shell it in there. And I know, because we've played together for 2 or 3 years, I know he's going to be there. There's elements like that, but it's faster in volleyball, and it's much more dynamic in a sense of, in the physical sense, it's more dynamic.
Right, got you.
See, just having a think about, we're probably right into it now, but like, I'm assuming you left school pretty promptly because it just wasn't for you. In terms of like you entering the working world, if you like, what were the first few jobs that you done? Were they in sport or?
No, that was really interesting. Good question. My folks were devastated because they wanted me to go to college, and I'm like, college? What am I going to do at college, right? So I got fed up. I was in my 6th year. I was doing like 3 new hires, and I was like, I'm done with this lot. I'm done. It was just not inspiring for me, you know. I was doing biology, geography, and I think I was resetting my English hire. And I got to kind of Christmas time, and I thought, I'm done with this nonsense. I just can't be bothered with it, right? And I looked in the papers, and I was just looking for jobs, just any job, didn't matter. And I came across this job, and it said a paste-up artist. I was like, don't even know what that is. I thought I'll apply for that. Printing company, literally around the corner from here on French Street in Bridgeton. Or is it Dalmarnock? I'm not sure. It's Dalmarnock maybe. Applied, and I got it because I had my higher technical drawing. And paste-up art, being a paste-up artist is basically a graphic artist, but if you're designing a form on the computer now, like you just bring up table, and it comes up as a form. But in 1984, 1983, you had to physically draw the form, right? And then you cut wee bits of paper up and you pasted them onto the right position. Hence, you were a paste-up artist. But that was effectively the kind of bottom rung of being a graphic artist, right? Okay. So I was given that job because I had higher tech, okay? Went into that, and then had a break into kind of design and marketing. And then went into account handling in advertising companies, and then the design companies. Opened up my first wee design company myself, ST Visual Communications. And that was great. I really enjoyed that. But a lot of pressure because there was a lot of risk, right? Because I'd just met my ex-wife. I had just met her, and kind of like I thought this is the one, right? And within a year of setting that up, I'd proposed and she'd accepted, and we're going to be married the following year. And it was like, okay, now this is serious now, right? So I'm on my own, owner manager, self-employed. It's all about what I do. So the focus, somebody said to me one time, there's nothing like poverty to sharpen the mind. My mind is razor sharp, right? Kind of like it is now, or as sharp as it can be. So that went really well, and there was actually a job that came in that I couldn't do. I thought, I can't do that, so I'm going to sub it, right? So I subbed it out to this design agency, Benson Design, quite a big agency, 30, 40 employees, turning over a good chunk of money, some great clients. Do you know remember Wiseman's Milk?
Yeah.
Remember the trucks that were going about with like cows, like a freezing cow? But they created that, right? So I got them to do a job for me, and I was like, I really like the cut of their jib. And a guy called Willie Hamilton was the chief executive, or the chairman actually. And once the job was finished, I phoned him up. I says, Willie, I've got 22 clients that are kind of recurring. I've got decent business. Is there any chance we could merge? Come up to our office tomorrow morning and we'll talk about it. I was like, all right, okay. That was easy. Because that way you think to yourself, I'm shiting myself to phone him. Will I phone him? What have I got to lose? Phoned him. I come up tomorrow. I was like, okay. And he said to me, love to do it. Let's do it. Let's talk about it. And then within a week of that, I met the board. And that was it. I was in. And that was a big change. And then
when did that happen, Stephen?
That was 80... I'd had my injury by that point, so what would that be? 80... No, that'd be 1991. 1990, 91. That would have happened.
And this was
that transition.
Thinking about how your business and your sporting career sort of coexisted then, so...
Well, at that time I'm post-injury, effectively post-career ending injury. Left Stirling Albion, went to Norwich, came back, got injured, out for 9 months with knee injury. And then from there, I got freed from Stirling and went to Clyde. So I'm now at Clyde.
So you're playing for Clyde
part-time,
and you've got your business which is just merged, right? Got you. So that timeline kind of goes sort of school, Stirling Albion, Norwich, which is like your big move.
Well, actually, my break into, so you said what was the transition into football? It was actually going back to the volleyball story. Volleyball season finishes really early, like April, May, right? So I phoned up my boys club manager. I was like, John, any chance you'll come up and see the boys playing? No problem, come on up. This was like the Tuesday. Come up Saturday, that's pretty great. Okay, he phones me on the Friday night. He says, you still coming tomorrow? I'm like, of course I am. You get your boots? I was like, John, I haven't played in a year. It's been a year since I played football. Don't worry about it. We won't play, won't we? It's just if we need to cover the subs. I says, okay, fair enough. I go up. Steve Tennent, number 11. Sake. Throws me in, haven't played in a year. It was a quarter final of a cup, right? We scored 1 goal, free kick, top bin, thanks very much. We go to the semi-final, right? Playing at Blantyre, Blaze pitches in Blantyre. I don't remember who we were playing, but I just remember we were all massive. It's like, for goodness sake. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to get myself injured because the volleyball season's starting soon. Scored in the semi-final, we won 1-0. Scored in the final, we got hammered 4-1, but scored in the final. I got a phone call the following day. Andy Ritchie wants to see you up at Albion Rovers for a trial. I'm like, what? Andy Ritchie wants to see me at Albion Rovers. Now I didn't know Andy Ritchie, but I knew who he was, and I knew what kind of player he was. I thought, he's a proper player. Spoke to my old man. He was like, yeah, okay, let's try it. What have you got to lose? Cut a long story short, I signed him and Joe Baker. I don't know if you ever know that, you remember the name Joe Baker, right? So I didn't know either, but my dad was like, who was there when you signed? I said, oh, it was Andy Ritchie and an old guy, Joe Baker. And he was like, Joe Baker? I was like, aye, Joe Baker. I went, Joe Baker? His name was Joe Baker. But was it Joe Baker? I said, you say his name anyway you want. It was just Joe Baker. Do you know who Joe Baker is? I said, like, no. He went, he was the first player ever to move from the UK to an Italian team. And he went to Torino, and Dennis Law followed him to Torino. He was at Hibs and went to Torino from there.
Right, okay.
And then it clicked, because see the ability the guy had. See, we're in training. I mean, he was probably my age now, right? He was probably there was then, right?
Aye.
So late 50s, early 60s, and he was just a genius, an absolute genius. So for me, watching these guys, Andy Ritchie, unbelievably skilled, right? Unbelievably skilled. And so I thought, I'm going to take the chance here. These guys can maybe help me quite a lot. He was sacked within 6 months.
No, was he?
6 months. And I got freed. And unfortunately, I knew the commercial manager at Stirling Albion, because we'd played them. And I was like, Tony, how are you doing? He said, what are you up to? I said, oh, no. He said, well, give me a phone if it all goes tee up. So I phoned him and he got me in. Alex Smith was the manager. And Alex Smith signed me at Stirling Albion. And then he moved to St Mirren. And interestingly, when I was at Claremont Boys Club, Martin Ferguson phoned me up when he was at St Mirren, and he went, we'd like to take you to St Mirren, so just hang fire. I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to St Mirren. But then it all fell apart. Then I went to play volleyball, and then I came back, went to do that. So that was kind of, Albion Rovers was my first club, all kind of unravelled there because of change of management. Went to Stirling Albion under Alex Smith, which was, I mean, he's a mentor of mine, there's no question about that. Some of the things that he did for me taught me how to treat other people in a sense, but also gave me a realisation about what things that are important and the sacrifices we need to make to help other people. He's a brilliant man. Man.
What would you, and see that mentorship, like I've always found, I've had a couple of mentors in my life, both, you know, family life and business life, and you mentioned a couple of key things, how to treat people. Was there any other key takeaways, not just for that mentor, or any other important aspects of mentorship that you've taken for your career that
from football?
Could be football or business.
Oh my goodness, there's so many. I mean, you know, you think about, so I've had the great fortune of travelling the world on other people's money. It's basically business money, right? And I've made friends all over the world, and that sounds a little bit kind of like, as if you think you are, but it's true. I've made friends all over the world, and I would say I've got a really close friend in South Africa, one in or two or three actually in the States, one in Spain, one in Dubai. There's like people that I really respect, highly respect. Alex Smith is now going to Australia, so he lives in Australia now. Keep in touch with him. And the lessons are so many that are almost it's difficult for me to articulate what lessons have you learned.
Yeah.
I think that just the thing that you probably learned that already, the thing that I struggle with is listening more than I'm talking. Right? And asking more questions and being more inquisitive. And that's been my struggle, and I continue to do that in a sense that I won't ask enough questions, and I'm struggling to kind of get myself to do that. Ask more questions, be more inquisitive, understand more, and listen more. But I think treating people as well as you possibly can. But the one thing that's kind of come through my football is that unless you're working as a team, regardless of where you are, if you're not working as a team, the team's going to crash. You can think of yourself as the bee's knees. I'm the key man. I'm the CEO, right? I'm the dog's bollocks. If you treat everybody like you're the dog's bollocks, the team doesn't work.
Yeah.
And most of us, if not all of us, in some way, shape or form, are in some sort of team. And if you're not good in a team, then you're scunnered.
Yeah.
You really are scunnered.
It's interesting you say that, because you probably don't realise it, but we see it firsthand with you and Sean nowadays. You know how you do sort of combine so well as a team. Is that lesson, is that something that you've seen firsthand, both in a positive and a negative slight, be it in football, volleyball,
100%,
business?
100%. And it's so, when you see it, it's so obvious. And when you know what you're looking for, it's so obvious. It's like watching football now. So I'll watch football in a very, very different way from any of you guys will watch it, right? Because I've been trained to do that. Of course, you've been trained to do that. You know, it was part of my professional life for 15, nearly 20 years. Not the back end of that was kind of junior football and not quite as intense. But I've been trained to look at the game in a very different way to most people, right? So because of that, you drive skills and you drive other ideas that you take into other parts of your life. But in terms of teams falling apart, absolutely. Dressing rooms falling apart, no question. Points at which fractal moments where managers have got great squads and suddenly one person comes in and the squad's shot to bits.
Yeah.
One person comes into the dressing room and it's destroyed and suddenly the manager's lost it. Suddenly they've lost it. So it's the same. So when you guys are ready to bring on your next person, it's got to be the right person. I mean, you probably found that in your business. If you get one bad egg, it's like it's just a nightmare.
Aye.
And it doesn't destroy your business, but the upset, the short term,
the poison,
cataclysm
the culture around everybody. So when you get somebody bad in, it just spreads and everybody's upset and everybody's angry and it's poisonous and it's
terrible.
The old one rotten apple spoils
Yeah.
bunches.
So when you think about
true.
a manager coming in, so you say, well, look, Ange Postecoglou was the last Celtic manager. I know that's all close to your heart. God bless you. Postecoglou goes and you think it's totally different now. That's that Rodgers' fault. He was never the right man for the job anyway. On another point, you should never go back to a club that you were already been at and you've been successful. Never. It's never worked.
Yeah.
And there'll be guys that are more experienced and more articulate and more intelligent about the game that will be listening to this, hopefully, that are saying, Tennent, you're talking a lot of garbage. And it wouldn't be the first time I've heard that, right? Right, but that's true, right? Walter Smith's one of them, and I've had great reverence for Walter, although there was a couple of things that I did that I didn't like. But you can't go back to that club and then be the same. So you're thinking that's that Rodgers, but it's probably not. It's probably a combination of the change in managerial outlook, philosophy, but also the bringing in the insertion of one, maybe two bodies that just are making a difference.
Yeah.
And that level of intensity and trust and belief and care that teammates and a team has to have. Because if you're not doing well, he's not doing well.
Yeah.
Right?
Everyone
and if
suffers,
your team is, you've got one guy that's really struggling and then everybody goes, right, we'll try and hold you up, then something's getting left behind somewhere, right? So the team is really, really, really important. And sometimes you'll find that one thing will just come in and upset that apple cart, and it might be that's what's happened.
I think I noticed that on a small scale already. Like if Barry's having a bad day in the office, or if I'm having a bad day, it's difficult for the other person to know like behaving the same way, but it's almost like when the two of yous are having a laugh, having a good day, everything's positive, you feed off that energy. And similarly, if I'm having a terrible day and smashing the mouse about, and he's probably not sitting having a great time as well.
Is that why your mouse broke?
Aye.
We had a perfect example of that the other day where I could hear him having a challenging conversation on the phone, right? And I knew he was getting wound up. And then after that, there was a wee hour after it, and I was like, he's really fucking pissed off, right? Go out, and then see for the full afternoon, right? We just had a complete meltdown where I showed you a video before we came on the podcast of me kidding on. I had a cryptocurrency podcast and he was making TikToks, and we just went, fuck this day isn't going well, we're going to have a complete piss take. And it seemed to get us out of that.
It definitely did.
But I can see how if you didn't do something like that and try and pick each other up though, you're just going to go down a downward spiral then, aren't you? And one thing leads to the next.
I think that's one of the lessons. So I worked on my own for a few years, which was a disaster. And I'm very much a team player. If I'm on my own, I'm a waste of space.
Right.
And I know that. I've learnt that lesson quite harshly. And risked it all and lost it all in a number of... I've had a lot of failures. And you could say, you could actually sum up my life as being, you're just a failure, right? And you say, well, how can you qualify that? Well, I've failed in a couple of businesses. Marriage failed, so failure as a father and as a husband. You could say that, and I'd be hard pressed to argue that. failure in business, failure in sport to a degree, right? Didn't really fulfill the potential that I had. But when you're at that point, and you know this is relevant to risking it all, I believe that unless you're risking it all, you're really not risking anything. Yeah. Unless you're taking it to the edge, you're not really moving forward. Right? It's that you heard the philosophy: burn the boats, burn all the boats. Don't give yourself any options. Just burn the boats.
Yeah. And
that was one of the things when I was working on my own. I had a bit over there, and I had something over here, and I was listening to that guy there, and I had an idea here, and I've got that idea there, and I'm trying to do that, and I'm trying to do this, and I'm trying to do that, I'm trying to make this work, and I'm trying to build that, and I'm trying to do that. It was a disaster, and then you learn. Just burn all those boats.
Yeah, too much.
Just focus on that one thing.
So one question I've got about that, and you know, you can pick and choose if there's anything you want to go into more detail, but even just from a high level, you know, a couple of failed businesses. You mentioned about marriage and probably being quite critical about the fatherhood and stuff like that, but I would have never, if you gave me a guess, I would have never imagined, having spoken to you so many times now, that you'd someone who had all of that in their history, because you've got an overwhelmingly positive, you know, cheery, you sit and chat with your folk constantly. So is there anything that you've done to deal with all that and kind of move on? Any tips you would have to get over failure? Okay. Rationalisation.
And I'll give you an example of that. And not that I'm a rational person. Right? Don't get me wrong, guys. I was coming home from a football match. I was watching an under 21 football. I think it was a 21s. It was a reserve game, right? Back in the days where they had reserve football. Okay. So this is in my space as just about to fail sports agent, right? But I had from 2000 to about 2005 a really successful stint as a player agent and as a match agent, right? Divorce happened, and then it all crumbled, and I went through that process of just going from one post to another, and it was all crumbling. Every single thing I touched crumbled, right? But I was coming home from a game, this would be about 2005, 2006, and coming down the motorway past the airport onto the A737 down towards Linwood, right? And I'm driving, I'm doing about 65, and this Rover goes past me. I was like, fucking hell, he's flying, right? And then about half a mile down the road, and I'm only talking like in the matter of seconds, he's half a mile down the road, and I see the car kind of as if it was like an optical illusion, took a right angle turn to the left, and then I saw as the road turns, there's trees, so you can't really see beyond, right? But I see this lamppost shake and then fall, and I thought, oh shit. So I get onto the scene. The car is lying on the passenger side, on its side. The engine's still right, and out of the driver's window climbs two young lads, and they get out of the car. I'm already on the phone to the emergency services, right, and I'm saying police and probably ambulance, I don't know, right, but I've said police and ambulance, and I've hung up on them. Call's done, and I'm walking down, trying to climb my way down this embankment as it goes down, right? And as I'm halfway down, I'm literally trying to scrape my way through brambles, and I'm getting jagged, and I'm getting, oh yeah, bandit you. And the two boys are out the car by now, they're like 20 yards away, and they're standing looking at the car, and I'm thinking, what are you looking at the car for? And then the car, it doesn't blow up, right? You know, you get in the movies, the car goes boom, boom. It just combusted. It was just like a poof. You ever poured petrol on a fire, right? And then let it just goes, right? That's the noise it made, but it was poof. One of the boys, the driver as it turned out to be, went back to the car, and I thought, oh no, there's somebody still in the car. Back onto the emergency services, get somebody out here, get the fire brigade, get everybody you can, send the cavalry, right? And I'm still on the phone to the emergency services, so they're like, hold on, don't move, don't hang up the phone. Cut a long story short, there was a young girl in the car. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt, and so when the car hit the lamppost, she hit the side of the car at 90 miles an hour, dead on impact, right? All of her clothing, apart from little wee kind of socks, was gone. Just completely naked, apart from these wee socks. A horrible story. There's a point to it. So we dragged her away from the burning car, and not to get too gruesome, but it wasn't a pleasant sight, right? She was quite badly charred. Checked for vital signs. She was obviously passed away. Okay. I was on the phone, still on the phone to emergency services at this time, and I had to say to her, look, we now have a deceased on the scene, and that changed everything. The tone of the voice, everything changed. Do not hang up the phone. Stay there and tell us exactly what's happening. So I went through all this. Eventually, the fire engine came, the police came, the ambulance came. These two boys were in. You've ever seen anybody in shock, proper shock? Mm-hmm. You have? Mm-hmm. It's not nice. These boys were shocked to their core. I mean, literally shaking, just sitting there shaking, just eyes agaze, just like couldn't. They were destroyed. These boys have just been destroyed. She was only 17 years old. They were only 19 years old. And basically what happened was he'd lost his concentration. The car went up in the central reservation. As an inexperienced driver, you brake, right? As soon as you brake, you lock one side of the car. That's why it turned like that. And immediately shot up. If it hadn't hit a lamppost, it might have been okay, but it shot right across the road through this lamppost, and that's what killed the girl. It was a horrible thing. I can still see her face as I talk now. So I got interviewed by the coppers, the traffic police, right? But they came out to the house like 2 or 3 days later. Just need to get this story right. Okay, so reverse a little bit. Back to the house about 4 a.m. My wife, are you okay? And I told her the story. She's like, are you okay? I said, look, let me just sit up for however long it takes, just to rationalise what happened. Okay. So when I arrived on the scene, did I do the right thing? When I got down there, did I go through the right processes? Did I follow a protocol that gave those who were in need every possible chance to be as safe as possible? Yes. Did I do everything that I could have done to help that young girl? Yes. Could I have done anything different? No. If I think about it, if I talk to other people about it, will it change anything? No. So what do I do with it? I convinced myself that I had done everything I possibly could to save everybody and give them all the best possible chance, and I settled myself on that I did the right thing. So I was able to then go, well, that's what I did, and therefore I don't have any. There's nothing of that bothers me, because I've convinced myself that I've done the right thing. Everything I did was the right thing at the right time in the right way. So I can say, okay, I did everything I could, and there's nothing that happened as an outcome I could have done anything about. So whilst it was a horrid thing to see and a horrid thing to witness and a horrid thing to see those boys and the memory of that girl lying there, it's still, I'm okay with it. I'm genuinely okay with it. So the things that I've tried to do, so that knee injury I got that took me out of the game, basically, there's nothing I can do about that. Absolutely nothing I can do about it. And I'm suffering now. I've still got a bad knee, still got a bad ankle, that sort of stuff. But I've not let it stop me do things. You know, from there, from football, I went on to do extreme running, extreme marathon running. It's quite a funny wee story. The first thing we did, a pal of mine says to me, do you fancy doing a charity run? I was like, yeah, no problem. So in my head, I'm like 5k, 10k, total. Do that easy, right? Don't even need to train. He says, well, come up to the house tonight. I was like, all right, okay. So I go to the house and there's all this kit lying about. Backpacks and medical kit and freeze-dried food. There's a machete, right? There's all this.
That's common in Glasgow. Is this in Glasgow?
Right. It was funny enough, it was Postley's house. And I was like, what's all the kit for? What's going on? You said you wanted to get involved. I said, I do, but what's all this? He went, it's kit that you'll need. And I'm like, why do I need all that kit? And he said, so it's the Jungle Marathon. I was like, what do you mean, the Jungle Marathon? He says, it's the inaugural running of this marathon. I was like, it's just a marathon. He says, well, yeah. I said, well, tell me more. It's basically what it was. It was 7 days, 250 miles through primary Amazon rainforest. Right, that was June, and the marathon was September of 2003. And I'm like, you're having a laugh. He went, no, we're going. I was like, okay. So when people say to me now, so if we're in the studio and you say to me, Stephen, oh, I can't run 10k, you know, I can only maybe do 3. That's okay. So if you can run 3k in 10 weeks, you can run 10k. And that's all we did. We just did the training, and then we went and we all got through it. We all ran it. And it was an unbelievable life experience.
I bet.
Absolutely epic. Epic.
And so, obviously, your point about rationalisation, right? So, from my point of view, if someone said we're going to run an Amazon rainforest marathon, I'd be like, that's no fucking rational.
And by the way, it wasn't. And we still to this day can't believe how nobody died on that journey.
So how did you get over that? Like, okay, I'm going to run a marathon, 250 miles or whatever it was. How did you make that rational in your head and do it?
How did I make it rational? Because I just knew I could do it.
Yeah.
I just knew if I did the training and I got myself strong, I could do it. Because you're not running 250 miles consistently.
Yeah.
The first day's like 18 miles. Then the next day's 22. Then the next day's 28. And then the next day's 32. And then the long day's 50. So you get 35 hours to complete the 50 miles. And that was an interesting one because you're going through the night there. Mm-hmm. And you're not allowed into certain parts of the forest because there's jaguars operating there. And then you realise that there was a crew of about 8 or 9 different folk that went, we don't care, we're out. And they were like, no, you can't. And they just went. And but they were all locals. I say locals, they were South Americans. And they went in and they were tracked by a jaguar. And they could see it. They could see it. Because you've got these wee Davy lamps, right? The head torches, right? So there's 8 Davy lamps jumping about the jungle, right? And they had one of these massive big leaves that you see in the jungle, right? And they used that to kind of disperse the scent. So the person at the back would run single file, right? And the person at the back would constantly wave this big leaf behind them to disperse the scent, right? But it doesn't matter because they know, right? The jaguars can get this, right? The jaguar will be able to smell you, certainly in the gym, right? from 2 kilometres away. They can get your scent and they'll be able to track you from 2 kilometres away just by following the scent. Right?
But you must have been reassured that just to get away for that, you just had one guy at the back waving a leaf. That sounds like
you John Machete as well.
We Davy's at the front with a chip. It doesn't make any difference. All right there, Davy. Aye, how's it back there? But it was really interesting. And then when the jaguar got close, what they did was they all got together, faced the jaguar, made as much noise as they could. So what does the jaguar see? It sees this massive big monster with 8 eyes shining, and it goes like, I'm out of here. And then it would circle back around, they'd get together, do the same thing, and they all survived, they all got through it.
Wow.
But the jaguar in the local language it's the local Indian language for kills with one blow. So basically, if a jaguar gets anywhere near you, don't worry about it because you're gone. You're out of it. But that was an epic experience. But that was. It does your feet in, basically.
Sorry, Andy, I don't know whether we're both got to do the same thing, but I want to just ensure that we have a bit of time actually talking about strength and movement from your perspective. So, where's your business partner on? He's obviously spoke to us a bit about strength and movement from his perspective. Tell us a bit about your business with Sean, your relationship with him, the theory of strength and movement.
Okay, so I came to this pretty late in my career, right? And it wasn't actually even my idea. It was a pal of mine. It was like, what are you going to do now? I was like, I don't really know. So this would be 2016, 2017. And just before that, I had created a wee cartoon character based on the golf market. Have I shown you Scratchback Tea?
Yeah.
So I created this wee cartoon character, but at the wrong time. We should have done it 20 years ago when there was still syndication for comics in magazines and newspapers. We were published in Scratchback Tea was published in the Scotsman for over a year, which was great. Published in international golf magazines, Business Quarterly, but we couldn't get a syndication deal, and that would have been what would have made us, right? And then from there, it was like cartoons and cartoons on the telly and that sort of stuff, like animation. So that had kind of died a death, and it got to its natural point, but there's still life in Scratchback Tea. Mark my words, there's still life in them. So I was like, what are you going to do now? I was like, I don't know. He said, you should be a PT. I was like, a PT? What? And he's like, well, you're all about, sport and being healthy and eating well and doing this and doing that. And I went back that night and I thought, that's maybe not a bad idea. I'll maybe have a wee think about that. So I think about it, spoke to a couple of folk, and I decided I'll take the course. And on the course, I met these 2 fantastic guys. A guy called Ian O'Hare, who's out in Baillieston, and he's a Scottish champion, European champion Taekwondo player, and he's I think certainly British champion not sure about European champion, kickboxer. Right, properly good guy, lovely guy. I called him Punchy. I said, all right, Punchy. Just got to know these guys really well. Another young lad, Sean McCurdy. These boys are both, at that time, 5-6 years ago, in their early 20s. And young Sean McCurdy's gone on to do a lot with his business, PT business. So shout out to the two of them, because I got a fair bit of inspiration from them in terms of the kind of things you've done. And Sean was a player at Hearts at the time. He was in one of Hearts' books, but gave it up to run the business. He pumped everything into his business, risked it all. Ian, here again, similar thing. He gave up his work to go and drive his taekwondo, kickboxing themed kind of studio, and that's doing really well too. So they've been great guys. So that was really good. Okay, so having met a couple of guys in the industry, kind of at the same space as I was in a sense, but not with a kind of business background. Not that that's going to do me, that does you any good. Gives you a few lessons, I suppose. And then from there went to work as my first job at DW Sports at the Fort. That's where I met Sean. And literally was back to square one in a business sense. Mopping the floor, cleaning the machines, giving them hours in lieu of rent. Okay, so that was my rent. I was basically giving them hours for my rent. And it was quite humbling to, because I've had a business where we were turning over upwards of, £2 million a year. I was travelling the world. I had 15 agents across Europe. I was a licensee for a business in America, which included the Nicholas brand. A great story about being on Jack Nicklaus's boat and in his house and having dinner with him and all that sort of stuff. Just an incredible journey. And then suddenly you're cleaning a bench press machine in DW at the Fort, right? So that was quite humbling, but at the same time needed to do it because you've got to understand where the business is and how it operates and all that sort of stuff. So
you think there's some parallels there, Stephen? So you mentioned about your at Norwich earlier on the podcast and everyone's mindset there, dropping down to junior and everyone like kind of chipping their shoulder. Sounding like it might have been easy for you to slip into that trap if you've, you said about, being with Jack Nicklaus and having, a really successful business, and then next thing you know, you're mopping the floor. But it doesn't sound like you've kind of fell into that trap of being, I'm too good for this, or I should be doing better. How did you sort of handle that then when you went back to the start?
Again, I go back to that rationalisation. Yeah. I rationalise it and say, look at it from a perspective, okay? And this is one of the only one point I wanted to make really when we were talking about risking it all, and is what is it you're willing to risk? What you want to risk when you go into business, because you're going to risk an awful lot. It's not just your own life, it's your kids' life, it's your family life, your wife or your partner's life, right? Because they're dependent on you to a greater or less extent. But you're also going to sacrifice the relationships. You're risking the relationships. And effectively I paid the ultimate price in that relationship. My marriage broke down. By the way, 70% of divorces over the age of 40 are instigated by the women. And it usually happens when the man loses his job or the business goes under, and then the women are thinking, I can do this on my own, screw you, I'm off ski. And that's almost exactly what happened to me. So when I look at it and I say to myself now, okay, here I am, strength and movement, okay, my boys are up and they're doing their own thing, they're independent. And if you'd ask me what's the one thing about parenthood, what's the one thing you should do, what's your duty, is to prepare your children for independence. It's nothing else. Not to be their pal, it's not to be this, it's to prepare them for independence. And I say publicly, not all the time, I don't go about saying to people in the street, by the way, I love my kids. But my boys are absolute treasures and they're wondrous to me, right? Wondrous. But I lost them for a while. So when I put it into perspective of, if I'm risking everything for strength and movement, I'm not risking my relationship with my boys. What does it matter? I can start again. I can go and clean windows. If this doesn't work, I can go and clean windows. But we're putting everything into this. So I met Sean at DW, and immediately he came out as a very capable, quite a balanced young man. At that point, he's only 25, but still noticeably capable, noticeably particular about his cueing and his coaching and his job. Quite studious. He's always quite busy. I was just starting mine. Starting with no clients. And a duster, right? That was where no clients and a duster and a certificate and some insurance. And I thought, quite like the cut of this boy's jib, right? But I've known from the start that I don't want to just be a PT. I want to build a business, and I want to expand the business, and I want to diversify the business. Right? I'll be 197 when all this happens, but it's okay. But the plan is there. It's all in the head. But the business plan includes all that sort of stuff now, right? But we're still only 6-7 months into the business, so we've still got a lot to risk. But to answer your question, to put that into perspective, the risk is now no longer as high because the stakes are now no longer as high, but the desire's still there. So I can rationalise that in a way that I'm risking everything that I've got here, but it's no longer, I'm not risking my kids' lives or my kids' future or my kids this, my kids that, or my relationship. Although relationships still depend on a little bit of, I said to a guy the other day, money is no longer my driving factor, but I like to be able to pay my bills.
Yeah.
Aye.
Right? I like to be able to pay my bills. But so when I go into the studio now, and Sean and I will sit down, for instance, you came in yesterday and we were deep in conversation. That's a really serious conversation. You guys are speaking about your business. I'm sure it's a really conversation. When you have a discussion with your board, I'm sure your management, I'm sure it's a really serious conversation. But we like to have a laugh, right? And you'll see that with Sean and I, we like to have a laugh. So the philosophy is you need to have fun in life. It's too short. I'm nearly 60. It's too short, and don't mess around. You've not got time. You think you've got time. You haven't got time. All right. My oldest son's 30 next year, like that. 30. How did that happen? Right. Put everything you can into it. Risk everything you're prepared to risk. But the most you'll risk is your family relationships, and that's the thing that I think should underpin everything that you do. Am I doing the best thing for me, my family, and my children? And if I am, great. Get tore right in. But remember that the only currency that your children want is time. They don't care. That's how they spell love. Love's a 4-letter word to children, but it's spelled T-I-M-E. It's not spelled any other way. It's just time. They just want your time and attention. They don't care what car you drive. They don't care what kind of house you're in. See if you've got time with them and you bond with them and you keep that bond and you keep that relationship. Life is as rich as it possibly can be. I've no question about that. So rationalising that again and looking at it in a perspective is how you say, right, okay, how do you get up in the morning when you're still, struggling? That's okay, because you know what you're putting on the line.
Yeah, great advice.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
so
And I think for MD, perhaps in the one final plug, anybody in the Lanarkshire area that's thinking I need to properly get myself going here and get myself a bit of fitness in my life, why should they come to Strength and Movement?
That's a good question. Thanks for asking that. The philosophy of what we do is based on my experience through sport, right? So when I was training to be a volleyball player, I never went to the gym, ever. But I was able to stand and jump, and my standing jump was 32 inches. So I could jump just on my own power, nearly 3 feet. My running jump was 37 inches roughly, right? But I was never in the gym. And the only reason I could do that was I was constantly jumping up and down. And you were training jumping, you were playing jumping, you were just jumping all the time, right? It's part of the game, that's the game, right? So, and then when I transitioned into football, suddenly people are saying, oh, you're brilliant in the air. It's only because I can jump really high, right? So I'd be up against a guy 6'3", 6'4", wouldn't bother me. Because I'm jumping 15 to 20 inches higher than he's jumping.
Yeah. Right?
So I'm 10 inches shorter than him, but if I'm jumping 15 inches higher than he can jump, I'm above him. I can get up above him, right? So no problem. It's actually quite a good photograph when I played at Parkhead of me at a corner clearing the header, and I'm good head and shoulders above everybody else there, and it's like, Docs, thanks very much. You're real duh. So my philosophy has come from not really using resistance training, okay, but all being movement based. Football, never really lifted a weight when I played football. It was way before strength and conditioning came into football, sports science. Volleyball, obviously. And then through my running, never really went into the gym when I was running. I went into the gym sporadically because you think you need bigger biceps. And Sean, you don't need bigger biceps. Actually, he doesn't need bigger biceps because they're massive. We were actually picking up some kit for the studio right at the beginning, right? We go down to this guy who's selling this kit, and the boy turns around and he goes, Sean, you never missed arm day, did you? The arms are right there. He's a strong boy, but he's a clever guy. So the philosophy is to get strong, but be able to move properly. And you can't move properly if you're just doing the same exercises over and over and over and over again. So Sean's side of the studio will get you strong. He's very clever. He works really, really particularly well in cueing people and coaching people. He's concise, he's clear, and the stuff that he does is all scientifically proven that it will get you stronger. That's what he does, and he's brilliant at it. From my side, it's a bit freer, in a sense that we utilise the resistance, i.e. weights and kettlebells and other things, and slam balls and weight plates and barbells and just your body weight, to be able to move better and have better mobility. And what I call that is now, I call it living strength. It's all very well being strong and showing big biceps. What good does it do you having big biceps? It really doesn't do you that much good at all. It doesn't, right? It just looks good. It's aesthetic.
I like how you looked at me when you were talking about big biceps here.
I'll see you after, right? But it does get you strong. There are very specific patterns of movement, very specific calculations of how to get strong, right? There are certain principles, the principles of progressive overload. So as you go on, you get a little bit heavier with the weight, a little bit heavier, and you go up and up and up and up. And then there's super compensation, where you've got to kind of recover and then get back into it and go heavier. So it's quite complicated. It's actually, there is a science to it. There's very much a science to it. And then there's, building your VO2 max, which is your ability to absorb oxygen, or your ability to transfer and absorb oxygen through your body. That's really important. We can tie that specifically to all-cause mortality. We can tie grip strength to mortality. So you can, if someone's got a really weak grip, you can tell that 4 or 5 years tops, he'll be dead. And it's like, how can you tell? But just because it's a level of strength, it's a strength test. So if you find that, your grip strength isn't so good, then you'll find that you're on the way out. Seriously on the way out. It's really weird, right? Muscle mass. We now know that muscle is the organ of longevity. So Sean's side will get you really weak. I'll use that strength and get you able to move better and just create living strength.
I like, I've fired you both a couple of messages just about the content that you're pushing out. I like the message that you're pushing out, and having even stepped in a few times, primarily looking for chocolate or looking for Barry, not to work out. But
Stepped in. What was that? Wet album? Stepped in, sold out.
You get a sense that, I like the message you're trying to push it around, because I was one of the guys when I did used to go, where when I walked out of the gym floor, I felt quite intimidated. I used to look about and be a bit like, there's all these people breathing heavily, smashing weights all over the place. I don't have a clue what I'm doing here, so I'm just going to go to a machine that I think I know what I'm doing on. I'll look at the picture and go, I can probably do that, do some of that, and then go, right, I'm away for a burger. I deserve it after burning my 8 calories.
Right.
But I like that message that you're trying to push it around. When you arrive in our studio, you know what you're doing. We take the time to speak to you about, right, what did you do last week? This is a plan for that. You always know what the plan is, almost. Yeah. I think for people like me that don't live in the gym, if you're ever considering joining a studio, then that type of thing is vital.
It's a very, very common story. We don't know what we don't know, right? You're sitting and teaching us yesterday about some of the digital marketing stuff, right? And I'm like, I hope Sean's listening, because I'm out of this, right? We don't know what we don't know, right? Yeah, and you don't know when you're in the gym, and these machines you're talking about are designed that way so that it's dead easy to follow. I just do that and I do that. All right, okay, I sit and do that, and you do that, and you go, that's not done right, enough of that. But then you don't realise that you've done yourself absolutely no good whatsoever. Zero. You've not done yourself any good, okay? The grunting, the intimidation, right? So we have this wee tagline, no grunters, no posers. Because it's a barrier for people to go into the gym. It's an absolute intimidation. People just go, I don't fancy all that, it's not a little place for me. And it shouldn't be like that, right? So people want to take over. It's this status symbol. We all want a bit of status. So people go into the gym and that can be their status. I'm the king of the gym. I can lift everything that you can. I can lift heavier than you can. I can lift longer than you can. I can lift more than you can. I can lift things that you don't even think about. That's their status. So they want to tell you about it in their own way. Posing, lifting big weights, dropping them, slamming weights down, machines break. Fucking machine's broken. That's because you slammed it down 18 times yesterday, right? And that's a barrier to entry. So we want to break down the barriers to entry, being We don't want any people in there who are going to be posing about. We don't want anybody who's lifting huge weights, dropping them and grunting all the time. It's just not conducive to an atmosphere that everybody wants to learn and get better in. So we break down those barriers and say, come on in. Not only that, you'll not ever come into the studio and not know what you're doing, because you're always coached.
Yeah.
Always coached. And even if it's just you've won a watch, because you're going to get one-to-one PT, because you're in at 6:30 in the morning and nobody else can get out of their bed and you're in on your own.
Yeah.
Magic. We'll be there and we'll coach every single aspect of what you do. We'll put it into a programme, and Sean's side's very particular about that, and I'm a little bit more kind of like free in terms of the movements we'll make.
Training you up to wade through the Amazon.
Correcto.
Well,
I'd maybe be able to do something with a machete, but maybe apart from that. But I think, from my point of view, Stephen, just to give you a wee bit of a plug, because I was very much in the same boat as Brian, right? You know, intimidated, right? But you know, since I've been training with you guys, I mean, you have got members in there that are half the size of me, 70-year-old females, some of them, and I'm watching them do more press-ups, more chin-ups, sometimes lifting more weight than me. And going back to Brian's point around, if that was me not in your environment, I'm sitting thinking to myself, I'm embarrassed, fuck this, I'm away, right?
Right.
And there goes my gym, there goes my focus.
Yeah.
But what I found with you guys, one of the biggest things is the community that you install, right? So each of those examples I've just said to people, before I've watched them either lift more weight or do more press-ups, I've had a conversation with them. They're lovely people, really, really encouraging. Now when I'm watching them, I'm delighted, because I'm like, look at them, they're fucking smashing it. Whereas if you hadn't installed this environment that you do in strength and movement, where everybody knows each other, it's small groups, everyone's coached, I'm walking at the gym and I'm away.
Yeah.
So that, for me, from my point of view, has been a big sort of testament to you guys, and the fact that there's no intimidation, everybody's encouraging, everybody's welcoming, and you know, it just works.
Well, thanks for that, because that's effectively what we want to hear, and B, what we kind of started out to try and achieve.
Yeah.
Because everybody, doesn't matter what you have, whatever team you're in, see if your team's happy, your drivers are happy, your management's happy, it's flowing. You don't even need to do anything, do you? No, all you need to do is just push it in that wee direction. Exactly right. That's what you just need to give it a wee push in that direction. Oh, that's magic. Bump. There you go. Bump them in that direction and they're away. And it's the same thing with us. You know, it's so when and that's actually an expression that I don't like. Smashing it, right? Because that suggests that you've got to smash it, or you've got to, you know, ball deep all the time. And that's exactly the opposite thing's the case. The only thing that gets, so you're talking about Rona, 76 years old.
Yeah.
She'll do 15.
She's amazing.
She'll
by
do
the
10
way.
press-ups with 15 kilos in her back.
Aye.
Right, she's 76 years old. She's been working with Sean now for about 9 years. Before then, she never stepped in the gym. You think to yourself, she's been doing yoga. She's been doing loads all through her life. No, mid-60s, she started, and now she's doing press-ups with weights in her back.
That's my plan. I'll be the male runner. I'll make it run in 30 years. Right?
You'll not make it to 60s.
Right. If that's me and Brian walking into a mainstream sort of 24-hour gym and seeing somebody doing that, we're like, we're away to.
But it's that consistency. It's just the consistency that builds
But
up, and that's what you're finding now.
Yeah.
Well, Stephen, thank you very much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Is that us? An hour up already?
An hour up already, as
we
always,
are
quickest
an
hour
hour
of the
and
week.
10.
Aye, there we go. So I feel like we've probably skipped over a huge amount of your stories, Stephen.
we should have booked you back to back.
We'll maybe get you back on if you're up for it to dig
I've got
into.
grey hair, remember? There's a good reason for that.
I've got no hair, to be fair, so I can't compare. But no, thanks, mate. That was great.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
very much
joining us.
indeed for having me. It's been a
Cheers,
delight.
mate. Thank
And
you.
nice to meet you,
Brilliant.
Andy.
I've met you a few times before.
Oh,
When?
In the office.
couldn't have been that memorable.
And there, right, okay, aye, in the office.
aye,
Once,
yeah.
that's only once. A few. You were rubbish at maths as well, weren't you? But you're not rubbish at maths when you're counting the pennies when they're coming in.
Well, we heard in our previous episode that Andy sleeps in a bed of money for Ross and Brian's coaching, so he doesn't need the maths.
Guys, here's the thing, right? You've got a successful business. What tip would you give me right at the beginning of our business?
Right in the beginning of a business. I didn't start the business. I joined later on. So
But you're running the business now,
I run the business now, but I never had the initial start-up. I inherited the family, but I'm saying inherited a family business, so I'm a family business now. I've always found the important thing is dealing with customers promptly and effectively. Do you know what I mean? Everything else in the background, as long as you need to be customer focused and you need to be upfront and honest and do do what you say you're going to do. That's what we always try to do. If we say we're going to do something for a customer, we do it. And as long as your customers are happy, everything else sort of flows through that. And for what Barry's saying, and what he's talking about, that seems to be what you guys are doing.
That's what we're trying to do anyway. I mean, you get forgetful and sometimes you get complacent, so understanding you've got to keep doing that.
It's always about pleasing your customers and doing what you say you're going to do with them, from my point of view.
Agreed.
So
Thank you
guys once again for joining another episode of Risking It All. Thanks Stephen for coming in, and that was absolutely fantastic. It took me places I never thought I was going to go there. So brilliant to have you on, and definitely I think we could get you back on another time if you're willing.
Thank you very much, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks
Thanks.
a lot.
See you next week.